Y'all here? Y'all ready? Welcome to my YouTube channel, Loc'D, and today we're gonna do something it's two parts. Uh-oh. I hope this looks all right. I'm like, why is it gangsta leaning? Why are we leaning in such a manner? So let me mute, because I am on somebody's sprint and they got 2 minutes left and I'll be yap. And then it's time to wrap it up. You know what I mean? So oh my God, I didn't realize my camera is dying. Well, I'll try to make this as quick as possible. So today we're talking about Alexis Henderson and her catalog. I want to do this for a couple authors, but I thought I would start with Alexis Henderson. I'm also going to be ranking her books as well and just talking about just the overallness of her books. And maybe she's an author for you. I hope that she's an author for you because she is what I would consider an auto buy. So Alexis Henderson came on the scene with her debut novel, The Year of the Witching. And what I really loved about The Year of the Witching is I think that Alexis Henderson does a really good job with explaining the atmosphere and not telling you too much at the beginning of the book, and it kind of like slowly unravel as if you are watching like an onion unravel of some sorts. And while you're reading this book, you understand that there is people who believe in what's happening in this town and what's happening in the woods. And there are people who are scared to really talk about what's happening. And the main character is just having a lot of questions about her origin and what's happening around her. When I was thinking about like how I wanted to organize the videos that I'm going to do just featuring authors, I was like, okay, how am I going to do this? And like naturally I felt like you got to talk about the debut first, right? But I want this to be how I rank them in my mind of like my favorite to least favorite. And least favorite is not really fair because the authors that I do these videos on, currently the one that you're watching now and in the future, always assume that I've rated either all books 5 stars or very close to 5 stars. So it's really just about some subtle things that I liked one a little bit more than the other, but the rating was still given same. To continue to talk about Alexis Henderson. So Alexis Henderson, if I'm going to rank her books, and there's one book that I cannot rank yet because I don't know how it slipped me. I don't know if I forgot, but I saw on Goodreads that I did put I want to read. So I must have knew about it at some point and just forgot it, which is why I need to have a list of books that's on my radar somewhere. So I'm not like, wait, that came out? Because clearly I knew about it prior. But that's the book that came out called When I Was Death. It came out March 3rd of this year. So I won't be talking about that book. I'll probably do a vlog and give you my thoughts on that book, but I'm already predicting a 4 or 5 star there. So, it is what it is. So let's talk about the 3 books of Alexis Henderson and how I rank them, starting with number 1, which is House of Hunger. House of Hunger is her second novel. And I really, really liked how creepy this novel was. Alexis Henderson really, if you got gnats in your house, you know what's up. But Alexis Henderson really do Gothic horror really well. It's very, in my journey of reading horror across ethnicity and race, I can tell when someone is like trying to write atmosphere in a way to kind of get the reader to think that they're knowledgeable and like storytelling in that way, and just some people that it's just naturally in them. And I think for Alexis Henderson, she really blends the supernatural and horror very well. So in House of Hunger, you are following the story of this young girl, and she is in an abusive relationship with her brother. and she gets the opportunity to go work for this wealthy family as a blood maid, essentially. And you're not really like knowing what that's about until she gets there. And she starts to get like eerie clues. And that's a thing that Alexis Henderson does really well. They will be like breadcrumbs that are not just put there just for the sake of putting there. They're actually creepy as fuck. It's actually something not well there. And just to pause in this story, if you're like, Bree, your makeup is off or whatever, you guys, I accidentally poked myself in the eye with mascara earlier, and I've been fighting for my life ever since. So let's just ignore it and continue living our life. Amen. Yes. So House of Hunger, there's something about it. And while reading the book, most of the book is set in the house of this wealthy person. And while you're reading the book, to me, I felt like the house was its own character, just how it's set up. And I have said this in the past, and if you're new to my channel and you just never heard me say this before, but I love when an inanimate object becomes a character in a way. And that's how I feel about this house. Tananarive just does a great job with making a house or a building some kind of character. And Alexis Henderson does it in like a real, true Gothic way. And while you're reading the book, you're like, what is happening? What is she finding? Who did that drawing? Who wrote that? What does that even mean? And the good thing about Alexis is that she tends to reveal things to the reader, such as us, in a way like she's beautifully peeling back an onion that's burning our eyes, but we're so excited about the meal that's being made that we don't care that our eyes are being burned, if that makes sense. And I think also for this novel, the title House of Hunger is very, very fitting on what is happening. And it's also what I've learned about reading Alexis Henderson is that her, like a lot of Black authors, write stories that has a hint of this is a cautionary tale. And while reading House of Hunger, it's what I got from it, and I don't know if that was, Alexis' intention, but what I got from it is, even though you've come from a terrible background and you're thinking anything got to be better than this, you got to be careful of how you move in the world, because everything that glitter is not gold, and you can end up doing something that cost you your life. Because the way that the main character was isolated in this book, it's like, who know that you're here, girl, for real? Who care that you're here, for real? So you can just die and nobody would know. And this book also does a really good job of talking about how class impacts people, and how a lot of times to people who have more wealth or more upper class, if you will, they can be very dismissive or act as if people who are lower in class than them are disposable, and try to breadcrumb them or make them feel like they're going to be in a good spot by being with them or doing what they do. And it kind of reminds me of a saying that I really hate that's often said by politicians, specifically white ones in America, which is, I had to pick myself up by my bootstraps. And it's like, shut up. Because what are you trying to say? It depends on what the bootstraps look like. It depends on where you got the bootstraps from. It depends on the material the bootstraps was made out of, right? There is privileges that happen. Like, everybody is not given the same equitable line to, or equitable access to wealth. So one of the main characters in this book kind of acts like that. Like, if you stay with me, we'll be good. Come over here. Isn't it nice over here? You can also do what I'm doing. but they're exploiting you. There's a lot like the US. It's like, I'm going to do all these things, but you don't even know you're being exploited. But they're trying to make you think that this is good. This is good. This is what you should be doing. Let's do it together. Meanwhile, you're being exploited. So there's so many like levels in this book and how it was written. It's a little bit on like the sapphic side as well, which I enjoyed. But yeah, this was the creepiest, most fucked up book that I think that she wrote. But I really loved it. So here we are. The next favorite book I would say is The Year of the Witching, because I am a fan of the Salem. I am a fan, not a fan like in a weird ass, like I'm going to stand outside of Jeffrey Dahmer's fucking prison and ask him to marry me way. But I have always had a level of curiosity for the Salem witch trials. And to read this book, it felt like that level of curiosity mixed with what Alexis Henderson wrote blended together really well. If you're looking for a nonfiction that really dives deep into what happened to those women who were accused of witchcraft and during the Salem witch trials, I don't know why I'm losing my words. I would really recommend The Witches by Stacy Stiff. And while I was reading this book, The Year of the Witching, I kept thinking like, wow, that is historically accurate. This is historically accurate. I just kept thinking she did her research. She very much did her research when she wrote this book. Now, some things she took creative liberty, of course. But for the most part, she really did her research. This book is really a cautionary tale of following like this fanatic type of religion so blindly. It really is about this young girl named Emanuela trying to figure out her purpose. She was brave in so many moments. It's just, she did so many things to try to survive her circumstances and try to understand what was going around her. But there was just so many eerie and creepy supernatural moments that kept happening that was making her like literally afraid. There were some moments in the book that I was like, oh my God, I'm terrified to walk into a room and nobody is in it. And that's just how Alexis Henderson writes. She writes in a way that you are also sucked into the character's decision making or into the character's fear. Like you feel what the character is feeling. So I really enjoyed that part of it. And the only reason why I wouldn't say this wasn't my favorite is because Emanuela or Emmanuel, I forget the main character's name or how to pronounce it, sorry. But the main character, she's young and a little immature at times, so it can be hard to be in her mind, especially if you're older than her. If you're an older reader, you can be like, oh girl, why did you do that? So I literally had to like suspend what I would do or what someone my age would do and be like, she's just learning lessons. She's moving through life. It'd be like that. But I do think that this book was really well written. And again, how she writes atmospheres or just scenes that really get the plot going or moving forward was done really well. Now, the last book that I read from her prior to her new release, like I said earlier, that's coming out this year, is An Academy for Liars. And what I really loved about this book is that it was much different than the two books before, because it was really steep in relationship between the main character and this other guy. And it really gave like a little bit of Fever Dream, even though you guys know I don't love like Fever Dream or people just being unreliable. Somehow it worked for this story. I didn't feel so, lost and confused while reading the book. And An Academy of Liars also It's been a while since I've read a book that talks about an academy that is so secretive and it protects itself. And there's so many things you can do to either be a part of it or be out of it. It kind of reminded me of that TV show. Oh my God, what's the name of that damn TV show? You know how you think of something and you're like, I know it's that, but I can't remember. Was it called The Magicians? I knew I would find it. The Magicians. It kind of reminded me of that and the way the school protected itself. But also it was so hard to believe it was so hard to believe people who were in positions of power when they said things. Are they being truthful? Are they saying things just to say them? Or they're trying to protect their own ass? Where is this magic coming from? Why is the main character different than other characters? What is happening? And I feel like a thing that Alexis Henderson does is she creates female main characters who have a lot of internal strife. And she puts them in situations where they have to follow their intuition. Because a lot of times with trauma, and a lot of these characters are dealing with trauma. A lot of times with trauma, you learn over time, especially if you've had trauma since birth. As an adolescent, you learn not to trust your own intuition. And as an adult, you have to learn how to trust yourself and your intuition. And that is something that I would think is like a character flaw in her main characters who are women, is they're not really sure if they trust themselves or nothing. Even if they're being brave, even if they're choosing a route or going down a path that would eventually be, I don't know, successful for them, they're not really listening to their intuition. And it just feels like a cautionary tale, like I was saying earlier. Just a cautionary tale of like, what happens when you don't follow your first mind? What happens when you believe someone when they tell you they're going to do something and they ultimately betray you? What happens? So that's just something that I think about when I'm reading her books. I know the themes of it's going to be good. I know that she's really going to set up the atmosphere for you. You're not going to be confused. Her character development is going to be on point as always. You're definitely going to have to wonder all the way to the last chapter what's happening. And that's what I love too. I love to be like, oh my God, it could go this way, that way, or this way. And then Alexis Henderson goes a total opposite way that you could ever think. Just for me, I don't know. Maybe other people are like, I saw this coming. What Bree didn't. Okay? I did not see it coming. But that's okay. And I hope that was enough information to help you want to read any book by Alexis Henderson. And if you're like, I would have a different ranking, definitely let me know. But I also wanted to just quickly tell you guys about her book, When I Was Death, that came out March 3rd. So, When I Was Death, a group of teen girls does death incarnate binding in this haunting, speculative young adult novel. Rosalind Volk isn't herself anymore. It's been a year since her sister Adeline died in the woods under mysterious circumstances, and Rosalind is still tormented by her absence. So when the elusive caravan of girls that Adeline spent her last summer with rolls back into town, Rosalind joins them to finally figure out what happened to her sister. Strange, beautiful, and intriguing, the girls are closed off from the world. And as it turns out, they have brought together by a force more sinister than Rosalind's nightmares could have conjured Death himself. Death has spared the girls from untimely endings, and to pay for their life, the girls traveled the country reaping souls on his behalf. Now Rosalind must decide if finding closure is worth the price of striking the same deal. So I'm really excited about this book and I can't wait to read it. And I hope to read it before the summer is over. So definitely check back into my channel and see how that goes. But with all of that being said, thank you so much. As I talked about Alexis Henderson, I hope you have a wonderful day. Let me know if Alexis Henderson is a hit or a miss to you. Let me know if you have different thoughts about her as an author. I'm like, what is the words? As an author. And then I will see you on these booktube streets once again. Bye.